Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this NOEVSBIG helping hand soldering station with digital microscope stand. So this was provided to me by the distributor, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful and you want to purchase one of these, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon. If you use that link, it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So before I get into this, I want to take a quick look at a digital microscope. So if you're not familiar with these plug into your computer and they look like a webcam to your computer, so you can open up any application that can view a webcam, and then you can place this on things and you can focus in on it, and it's a digital microscope. And a lot of times they'll come with a little stand like this, but these stands leave a lot to be desired. They're just not stable. So you could kind of put this down, and if you want to move something around under it, this will move and fall over, and it's hard to focus. So that's where the NOEVSBIG stand comes into play. This really takes the microscope, which is almost like a toy, and turns it into more like professional equipment. So let's get this open. So here's the instruction manual. So here's a diagram of the parts, and here are the specs if you want to read through those. Of course, we're going to take a look at all this. And here's the back side. This has some more dimensions on it, and we have a packing list. So this is for clamping microscopes in the 35mm range. You can also put a heat gun in it. So we had some kind of like helping hand arms. Here's a wipe, clamps, tools. Here's the sliding base, piece of plastic, feet, more helping hand arms, microscope arm. Then on the bottom we have the steel plate. So this thing's very heavy. See the thickness there? So it says NOEVSBIG here. If you want that on top, you can have it on top, and I'll leave it on top. I'll turn it over and I'll put the feet on. And these feet are nice and thick. Now you could measure those out. I just put them about 1/4 inch from the edges. So now we have our stable platform. Now we can mount things on here however we want. So I'll just put this kind of in the middle. Has a magnet to hold it down. Now this is magneted on here. I'll pull that off. This plate will go in here like so. Magnet stand, and these do have plastic on the bottom. I'll set around here. These are standoffs for PCB boards, so I'll just set these on the side. Then we have these flex arms, and we have clamps that go in them, and we have these little screw knobs. So I'll tighten those in. So this can be turned in any direction and then tightened down. So there's 4 of these, and it does come with an extra clamp and screw. So I want to take a quick look at the tools. It came with a little Phillips screwdriver and 2 sets of tweezers and a little hex key. Also came with a white disc. I'm thinking you put that on the plate if you want a white background. So let's get the microscope mounted in here. I'll turn these thumb screws. So this is 3.5mm or 1.37 inches. So for clamping this, I see a flat kind of area right here. Looks like it'll work, so I'll put this down. Tighten these knobs. So it's secure. There we go. So let's get a little closer here and look at the controls. So we already saw this can be loosened here, and you can slide this plate in and out or back and forth. Tighten that down. Then this knob here loosens it for a 360-degree rotation, and that's kind of dampened a little bit. Now here we have, I think this is the lock back here, and then we rotate this to move it. And then when we get it where we want, we can lock it down. Like so, and we have the same thing here on the opposite side as the lock. We can unlock it, we can move it, and then lock it down. So this base is threaded here, so I'm actually going to tighten that just a little bit. There we go. So those are the base controls for the microscope. This is the lock here, and then we can move it up and down with this. And then here we have the focus on the microscope itself. So I'm going to connect this up to my computer and we'll demonstrate using it. Okay, so I have this connected into my Mac. You can also connect this up to a Windows PC. The USB cable on here also can connect into micro USB, so you could hook this up to an Android device with USB on the go. And this connects up just like a webcam. So I go to QuickTime Player, and then I go to File, New Movie Recording, and typically you'll get a screen up, and if you have like a webcam, you may see your face on there, but you'll go down here next to the record, and you'll choose USB 2.0 UVC PC camera, and that will bring the camera up. Then if we go lower, we have high quality and maximum quality. So maximum quality is going to be the higher bit rate. So on Windows, you'd probably want to go to the camera app. Okay, so I'm going to record on my Mac, and I want to point out I did pull out a little protective plate on the microscope there, and I'll put something on the microscope. I have a coin here, so I'll set that on there. So this microscope has multiple zoom levels, so I'll turn it all the way to the, well, that's all the way to the left. I was real close. And that's all the way to the right. So I may need to adjust this more. Okay, so now we're on the higher end zoom, and you have to really get in really close to the item. And you can see if I just touch this even the slightest bit, it jiggles that. So if I want to examine this and I'm trying to move the microscope or the item, tiny little changes get magnified. So take these tweezers here. See, and I move the item and you can see it really moved a lot. So that's where this comes in. Make sure everything's tight here. I can loosen this on the other side and then I can rotate this. So this is a little jiggly. We are really zoomed in. This is way smoother than it would be if I was doing this by hand. So now I'll do the other dimensions. And I'm going to take this helping hand off here. I don't need it right now. So here I can move back and forth, and I can focus in on this a little more if I need to. So as you can see, we can get really precise positioning here. And actually, I would like that A to be straight on the screen. This is probably going to be a little tricky here. Let's see if I can do it. So I'm going to have to move multiple of these at the same time. So that might have seemed like I was doing a lot of maneuvering, but as I rotated, it was rotating off frame, so I used these to keep it in frame. So just do little movements at a time and move back and forth. This made it super easy to position. If I were to do that by hand, every tiny little movement I'd make on my object would jump a long distance in the microscope. So that's on the really zoomed in mode. So this would be really good for inspecting things, but sometimes you don't need that. Let's go back to the less zoomed in mode here, and actually I can pull the microscope up a little bit and then focus like that. So now here I can move this back and forth. And actually what I'd probably want to do is get the grid somewhat straight on here and then actually rotate my microscope until the grid is straight, although I'm not 100% sure if that is up and down. Let's see. Yes, that's in the correct orientation. So now when I put my object on here, this coincides with the video I'm recording. So this is almost like using an Etch-a-Sketch here. There's no way I could do this manually this smoothly. I imagine a person could get really good at that and do some really cool shots. Now I could actually pull this out quite a bit more probably. Wonder if I get the whole coin in here. Or a lot of it maybe, I don't know. I think that's about as far zoomed out as I can get. But you don't always have to be zoomed in super tight. So this can also be used as a soldering station. I'll put a circuit board on here. And here we can see a number on this chip. Don't know if we can focus in on that better. So we can kind of read that. Now it does have an adjustment on this microscope for the light. So I could try and turn the light down. Wow, that made a huge difference just turning the light off. So there was glare on there. So I can read this on this chip here. So there's another chip over here. Scoot over to it. And there we can see that one easily. Look at these others. So that's really cool. That works very well. I'm impressed. So this does have the helping hands on here. So you could use the helping hands to hold something while you're looking at it with the microscope. It's important to note that if you're like soldering something, that these could be pretty flexible, which can change the focus in the microscope. So the less zoomed in you are, the less that's going to occur. But before you start soldering, kind of test it and see how much it flexes and how much it focuses, because you don't want to go out of focus when you're trying to do some precision work. Now this base isn't huge, and this circuit board, like if I wanted to look at this side, it'd kind of fall over. So you could maybe tape that on there. Now you can take this off completely, and if you look at the shape of this, you could potentially make your own base plate. This is just threaded. You could 3D print something. This will thread off here, so you can make your own mount on here also. This is just a 1/4-20 thread. This does have a level on it also. So this system is very versatile and very flexible. So that's the NOEVSBIG helping hand station with digital microscope stand. So this is a great upgrade for a USB digital microscope. I really like these types of microscopes, but they've always had that one problem of positioning them, and this stand really fixes that. Makes it super easy to use. So this would work well in a lab for doing precision repairs. This would also be good for just science exploration, for teaching. If you had this in a classroom, you can easily have this show up on a projector display. This could also just be used for macro photography. With the precise positioning of this, you could take multiple photos and then stitch them together later. If you're trying to do that manually, that'd be very, very difficult to do. But with this, you can just turn it a set amount, snap your picture, turn it again, move it, and then everything will be easy to stitch together later. Now this webcam connects into a computer, but you can also get webcams that would hook in here that have a screen on them. So it would be kind of a standalone unit. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.